My way, or the highway, and in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They'll deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Gallop Out. I'm your host, Ryan Anderson, joined as usual by Jackson Muniz. Jackson, how's it going?
Going good, man. I feels like I haven't talked to you in a long time, so excited to join you, and I'm glad Derby Week is finally here, and I'm glad we're not talking about the Derby. I feel like we've been talking about the Derby quite a bit lately, so we're going to talk about a different sequence.
That's right. We, obviously, Derby conversation means that you're going to talk about the Kentucky Derby quite a lot. We are going to, however, shift in a little bit of a different direction. There's a new bet being offered. At least that's how it was advertised. It is the 50-cent all-turf pick 4 on Derby Day, and it is covering the 4 major stakes. That's races 5, 7, 9, and 11. 2 grade 2s, 2 grade 1s, a little bit of anything, a little bit of everything, I should say, for the stakes. We got turf sprints, we got turf routes, and obviously grade 1s, grade 2s. They're all great fields, and yeah, Jackson, I'm excited to dive into this field.
Didn't they have this bet last year?
I thought so. I thought so, but they have so many of these special wagers, I can almost never keep track.
It's fun. I'm glad. Obviously, the turf pick 3 is probably my favorite bet in racing, except when they have those $5 doubles. So it's up there, and this is kind of an extension of that with the 50-cent pick 4. And it's low takeout. I don't believe there's going to be any CAWs in there, and it's all graded stakes races, maybe even all grade 1s. I haven't really looked at that, but tremendous fields, full fields, and clear skies. It looks like as of right now, we're still a few days out, but it looks good so far. I keep trying to jinx it. I'm doing my best.
I was going to say, this motherfucker keeps talking about the weather. You have mentioned the weather no less than 7. We've talked about the weather more than we've talked about the Kentucky Derby. You are asking for it to rain.
Probably.
You're asking for it to rain. It is actually insane. But nonetheless, we got to dive into this turf pick 4. It's a great sequence. You and I are a little bit different. Normally, obviously, we throw up our top picks for each of these races. We're going to do it slightly different. We're going to put up the horses that we are going to be using in these bets as we play them. So we'll throw the past performances up, and our picks are on the bottom of the screen. To start it off, we're going a little different. I'm going 3-9. Jackson, you are going 7-10. So, Jackson, we're going to start with your pick, yellow card. We're also going to show the replay because 3 of our top picks are all – or I'm sorry, I think all of our top – no, the 9 is litigation. All of our top picks are coming out of the exact same race.
So it's literally just a replay of the race that happened at Keeneland. And I don't know. I'm a little reluctant to use him. I'm glad this is the first race of the sequence, and we can see how much he's being bet, because there's a chance he becomes the ultimate wise guy horse of the entire week with this trip he had in the Shakertown. You're going to see him in the red right now. He just takes back right there and loses, I don't know, 2 lengths of position, maybe 3 lengths of positioning. I mean, I think it's probably a fair assumption. Yeah, and he still comes on and runs really well, and he's going to close down the center of the track in the final stages to finish second in there. And you can probably make the argument, if he didn't have all that trouble, he probably would have won. So if he's action on it too, I'll use him quite a bit. If he gets bet down, I could probably back off just a little bit because he's just a little too obvious. But he ran well in there, as did My Boy Prince, who got the job done in that race. My Boy Prince definitely got the best trip. Would you agree with that, Ryan?
Of the 2, yes.
Well, I thought of everyone, he got the best trip. I mean, he was in the best spot the entire time.
He was saving a lot of the ground. I was going to say the 7, I thought, got equally as good of a trip. I think they kind of flipped as they turned for home. Obviously, the 7 to the inside there. But no, I think for sure My Boy Prince, I think, got the best trip for what you want in a turf sprint.
Right. I'd agree with that. So I'm going to use yellow card, especially at that price. The other horse I do want to use, though, is Joe Shiesty. And I did bet Joe Shiesty in that Shakertown race. I think the difference between that race and the race that's going to happen on Saturday is it doesn't seem like there's as much speed as there was at Keeneland. And at Keeneland, they went really fast. He was pressured the whole time on the outside by a rival, and he got the best of that horse, had lead till deep stretch, and just got caught late. And that rival is not returning here. And of the new shooters in this race, not a whole lot of them want to go forward. I do think there's a chance this horse gets loose in here, and they have to come run him down. And I also believe there's an argument to be had that this horse is better at Churchill Downs than he's ever been at Keeneland. Most of his better races have been at Churchill than in Lexington. So he has that going for him as well. And especially with the outside post, if he catches a flyer, he's going to cross over the whole field and not have very much pressure. So he's the other one I would use. He would be my top pick in this race. And I know I don't have this horse listed, but I would also look at the 5 a little bit as a new shooter. That is Possiblemente, who's maybe this is just a horse that's wanted to sprint all along. And obviously his turf numbers aren't quite as fast as the synthetic numbers, but all those races came, much earlier in his career when he didn't have the form that he's in as of right now. And I think you could probably argue he's probably as good on the grass as he is on the synthetic. This is a big step up in class. It's a massive class test. He has to come off Lasix, plenty of questions to answer, but he's going to be the right price and he's in really good form. So he's the other one I would be looking at.
Yeah. Just to follow up on the 5 Possiblemente, I gave this one a look. I thought 10-1 was maybe a little short. But I do see how he fits off those last 2 numbers. Certainly sprinting seems like his game. He's one that I got to see prove it, going off Lasix against so many good horses. I'll go to my boy Prince, who we spoke about. And to me, I get it. Like last time was 5-1. If you want to call that the wedding, that could be the wedding. But I do think 5.5 is his preferred distance. He finished second in the Jaipur last summer as well. That was running behind AG Bullet, this guy's top pick in that race. He beat horses in the elusive quality, going 6 furlongs. I think the 5 may be a touch short for him. As you can see, he finished 3rd, and then he did win by just a neck, but he's really able to kind of get that stride going 5.5. And while I don't hate your point on Joe Shiesty to the outside with what looks like Lone Speed, and Timeform US has that the same way, I just think my boy Prince is a better overall horse, and maybe getting loose on the front end will be the great equalizer. But going 5.5, I've never been one to fall for that kind of Lone Speed unless it's a horse like Wesley Ward, where they just seem to fly and breathe different air sometimes. Maybe that's a little too I don't know, naive on my part. But I do think my boy Prince,
a little bit, yeah.
That's fair. I do think off that last effort, I mean, my boy Prince is going to sit an exact same sort of trip. I think he has the ability to be close to these paces. This is not a creative pick by any means. I just want him right back.
He's way the horse to beat. And if you want to tell me a 5-2 is massive value on him, I don't think I'd argue. I think he's way the horse to beat. He could go much lower than that, and I won't be surprised. The horse I'm really curious to see what you have to say is this guy. I don't like him at all. What's the case on Litigation?
All right. So obviously, first, the biggest point. So when I play this turf pick 4, I'm going to be singling and pressing up my boy Prince more than anybody. But the other horse I want to use is Litigation. 1, I do think he'll be a little bit higher than 3-1 on the morning line. I think him and Yellow Card are probably going to flip what their prices are, because I think to your point, Yellow Card's going to become a bit of a wise guy in this spot. I think you get a huge rider switch to Irad Ortiz in here. And while 5 furlongs at Gulfstream Park seems to be what this horse really loves to do, this horse has plenty of good efforts at 5.5. Biggest issue is that the speed and the pace scenario isn't necessarily going to set up for him. So I am hoping he drifts up a little bit. But first time Irad Ortiz, who in my opinion is as good of a turf sprint jockey as anybody. I was going to say he's number 1, but I do think maybe Flavien Prat might be just that much better. Even Jose Ortiz deserves to be in that mix. But either way, I do think it's a jockey upgrade over Mario. Nothing against Mario, but you're going from a good jockey to one of the best in Irad Ortiz. And I think he's going to have this horse in the right spot. It's just going to be a matter of does it set up enough for him? But I don't hate the last out effort. Obviously the run 2 back, I think, would win versus this group. That was at 5 furlongs at Gulfstream. This is 5.5 at Churchill on Derby Day. Those are 2 very different fields, but I wanted to take a little bit of an alternative with Litigation in this spot. Did
you? I know you said he gets the rider upgrade, but did you think it was a bad ride last time?
Not.
I mean, I didn't think he had trouble at any point. I thought he had the trip he wanted, and he was just completely flat.
I don't disagree.
Flat.
I don't disagree with that, but I do think he was. I don't even want to say bounce because he ran a 96. I do think that the Silks run took that was a pretty hard race, and that was a very impressive late kick that he displayed of versus that field. So I don't know. I did see that he was a little bit flat. I do think that you're going to get a better price on him. I think that you'll get probably around that 9-2 range, and to me, that's enough value for a horse that has proven it time and again that 5.5 is a good distance for him, and obviously he is a turf sprinter. And I'd be kicking myself if Irad wins at almost 5-1 on a day like this on a horse that definitely has the class to step up to this group.
All right.
We'll move on to
we'll agree to disagree on that horse.
Yeah, that's okay.
The worry I have is he was just been so much better at Gulfstream than he's ever been in Kentucky too, and it's very different. The 5 furlongs at Gulfstream is very different from the 5.5 at both Keeneland and Churchill Downs.
I don't disagree with that, and I probably would not take that horse at 3-1, but I do think he's going to float up to that 9-2 because I do think Yellow Card and My Boy Prince are both going to take the majority of the play in there. So that would be why I have him circled at 9-2. I'm willing to bet him at that number. Leg 2, we're going a mile on the turf. We're very different in here, Jackson. It's the Grade 2 Churchill Distaff Turf Mile. I'm not going to say that 5 times quick because 1 time was difficult enough. I'm going 3, 4, 5. Jackson is going 6, 8. So Jackson, we're all sorts of different in here. You're going to start. We'll start with a long shot. Vina Arana, Jack Sisterson, Adam Bishkitza. What do you like about this one?
Yeah, I'll admit this is the race that is kind of making me hesitant to play this sequence too heavily. I thought this was the toughest race to have a strong opinion on. And I guess the one thing I decided about this race is I think this pace could be pretty hot. I think Italian Soiree on the rail has to go stretching out from these sprints. She's got one way to win. Sweet Rebecca is going to be up close. Temptable, I know, was far back in her stateside debut, but if you look at her races overseas, she was always on the lead. And I believe now that she's had some time to acclimate in the Belmont barn, she's been working bullets, which is not super typical of Belmont. I mean, I think she's going to be much more for the place as well. We know Classic Q's going to go. She's got one way to win this thing. Moving on up is going to be up close. So I think there's enough pace where this thing has a chance to get really, really hot and it's going to fall apart. And I just don't really trust these shorter price horses. They're fine. They can win. They just don't get me super excited or anything. So I'm going to try Vina Arana at a massive number and just hope that the pace really, really heats up. She's got to improve for sure. No doubt about it. But we saw her last year. She ran at Keeneland and came back pretty at Churchill Downs and improved substantially when she won, when she got more pace that day. And the hope is the same thing can happen here. She didn't really have a huge excuse at Keeneland in April, but she ran well enough where if things break the right way for her and this thing falls apart, she's got as good of a late kick as anyone else. And it's not like her figures are really that far off from Sweet Rebecca. It's only a couple points. So at a horse, it's going to be 10 times the price. I want to use her in this race, but the horse to beat, I think at least, is the 8. And I'm a little surprised you don't have her because we were texting about this filly last night and you said something along the lines of like, this might be her time. So I'm curious to hear why you don't have her. Huh?
It's in the one she's cross-entered for going 9 furlongs.
Okay, that makes more sense. Well, hopefully she runs here then. Because I do believe that the Jenny Wiley is a much, much, much tougher field than the one she's going to face on Saturday if she does indeed show up in this spot. And I imagine she will. I think the $1 million purse, and when Mike Maker looks at this field, like, yeah, this is probably the right spot for her where we're going to take our shot. And she's another one where she ran fine at Keeneland, again, against a better field, off a layoff. She didn't have a huge excuse, but she's a filly that's also always run better at Churchill Downs than she has at Keeneland. I think we're going to see a step forward from her. And I also believe she's going to be the horse coming off the pace that has the right kind of kick in this race, should that pace materialize. You know how much I'm a big fan of JJ Hernandez. He's the right rider for this kind of horse. And we'll see what happens. I'm going to try to get by with just these two and hope my main opinion that this pace is going to be really hot is the right one. And yeah, you'll talk about the 3. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about her because she was the one I was kind of on the fence on.
Yeah, real quick, Pinup Betty is cross-entered in the Grade 3 Modesty Stakes, which, yes, is a lower purse, but you see those 4 victories at Churchill Downs, those 4 victories in the career, 3 of those are going 9 furlongs. She, to me, is a 9 furlong horse, and she won going a mile and a 16th in the Mint Julep on June 1st of last year. I think a mile is just a little too sharp for her. Again, maybe that's wrong, but her form at Churchill and at the 9 furlongs, I hope she goes in the Modesty. She's 10-1 in there, versus 7-2 in this field. The odds discrepancy is a little odd, but you do have Gazora in that field, so I guess that would be the explanation as to why. So I don't have Pin Up Betty in this spot. I do like her a lot in the Grade 3 Modesty, but we're not talking about that one. I'll go towards the inside.
She's got to go here, right? Because to your point, you can be 10-1 in a $500,000 race, or you can be 7-2 in $1 million race. I mean, I'm not a math expert, but to me, it's kind of a no-brainer where you're supposed to run.
I think so, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a trainer. Maybe I should ask Doug what his thoughts are if he's cross-entered and he sees the morning line of a differential that much. I'd actually be curious to know, maybe from a trainer's perspective, what they, if they weight that into anything. But to me, Pin Up Betty's a 9 furlong kind of horse, and if she can win the $500,000 stake versus come in second or third, you're looking at a better purse of winning the 500,000. So I guess it entirely depends on how they view Pin Up Betty and where they want to go. I'm curious where she ends up. Fair. All right. Something you and I are both doing in this spot is trying to beat Sweet Rebecca. And look, I think that she's probably going to go favored, deservedly so. She got a dream run in the Sand Springs last time. I mean, she finished that race exactly like she should have. She seems to be going the right way. I've just never entirely trusted this horse. Maybe she's a new kind of filly, or mare rather, now in the Brendan Walsh barn once again. But I don't know. To me, I wanted to go in a different direction. I'll start with portfolio duration for Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt. Obviously, this horse is going to take money just based off of that. The off Lasix move for a guy like Chad Brown has never bothered me. This is a horse that seems to be improving and getting better. This horse has won by daylight in her last 2, and she is going to obviously have to step up and face a major class test in here. But Chad's going to have her ready, and I do think 4-1, even 7-2 is value enough on that horse, because I do think Sweet Rebecca is going to get a lot of play, and I think this is kind of that up-and-coming horse that we don't entirely know where her ceiling is, and I think there might be some more in the tank. She's been tough to keep at the races. You can see just 3 starts to the career, all of them kind of followed by a layoff line, so it's good to see that she's healthy. Good to see that she's progressed out of that allowance race and continued on her training at a very regular schedule. And look, she could come in here. If she fires a good second off the layoff effort, we've never seen what she can step forward and do. So that's why she interested me. Temptable to keep things moving. Obviously, you mentioned came from way out of it in the Goldakova. Just looked like I don't know if she wasn't ready for that race. That might be a little too cruel, or maybe the jockey just took her a little too far out of it. I'm not sure what your thoughts were of the Goldakova in there, but go ahead.
I wish she would have had a better post, because we don't know. We were having the 11 posts at Del Mar. They kind of just broke out and said, okay, we're going to go the back. Like, I wonder what would have happened if she would have had an inside draw. Would they have been more
especially
aggressive?
At the mile? Especially at the mile. I mean, you have no time to do really anything. And I do think Barcelona made the good choice of saving ground and prioritizing that over position in that sort of field. And I mean, she did close. I just don't think that was her preferred run style. So I do think she draws up much better today. I think she's has the ability to be a little bit closer to the pace. She's been working really, really well for Bill Mott. You mentioned those bullets. Obviously, the time isn't going to blow anybody away, but that's at Payson Park. Those times are typically a lot slower than what you'd see, over the Churchill dirt this week and stuff like that. So she's got a couple gate works mixed in there. I like to see that. I think, a main problem they kind of have when they come over is getting out of the gate well. This filly has had plenty of time since last fall. So she's interesting to me at 8-1. They could have come back in an allowance spot, or I guess probably not, but they could have come back in, not on Derby Day and tried to kind of get her into things. So I do think that this is an interesting spot for her to wind up in. Last one I'll talk about before we keep things moving. Classic Q is a horse that I don't think I've ever picked this horse on top. And this is kind of the horse that scares me the most in this field, because I do believe on her best day, if she gets the lead She can be a real threat. And I don't love the ride she got last time. I think she went too slow. I think she is a speed horse. I think her best way to go is to just send it to the front, stretch this field out, put everybody else in chase mode. And Jackson, I know you're a fan of that. Use a speed horse for what a speed horse is good for. And I think if Classic Q and Johnny V want the lead, it is theirs for the taking. I do think there's some others who want to be forward, but we've seen her go fast before, and those are some of her best races, going back to those 2 races at the Spa on the Lake George and the Wild Applause. I know she lost the Lake George, but she did that the right way, and she was unlucky to lose to Daisy Flyer that day. So I do think going to the front, going as fast as she can for as long as she can is the way to go. And I think a mile is her best distance as well. Obviously 3 wins, 2 seconds from 7 tries at the distance. So I think all that put together, Classic Q is the one I want to use. She hasn't won in quite some time since Saratoga last summer, but she is one that obviously is working well, as all these horses are. But she's one that I think could surprise at a big price.
Yeah, I don't know. I worry that she lost last time. I know she backed down the pace, which I don't know how she lost. If she was any good, I think she would have won last time. If she was any good, I think she would have won the Mrs. Revere, and she got 3rd in that race. And there's other speed to contend with, so she's not for me, but she'll be a price.
I understand your point. If she should have won last time, Lush Lips is a better horse, in my opinion. Like, I think if wouldn't Lush Lips be favored in here?
Silver Moonlight by a neck, and Silver Moonlight would be 20-1 in this field.
That's true. All right. Fair enough.
I don't know.
All right. We'll keep things moving to race number 9. We're going to the first of 2 grade 1s, but real quick, leg 2, I'm going 3, 4, 5. Jackson is going 6, 8. Leg 3. It's the grade 1 American Turf, a mile and a 16th for the 3-year-olds. I'm singling the 4, Stark Contrast. Jackson, you're going 4 deep. I'm going to start because this is my strongest opinion, maybe on the entire card. This horse lost by a couple lengths to Full Effort, who is, I want to say 8-1 in the Derby. Probably should have checked that one, but this horse
like 15
on
or
turf,
20.
Full Effort is? Oh, I'm thinking of Further Ado. You're absolutely correct. Either way, I think Full Effort is one of those that's going to kind of end up as the, not a wise guy, but we'll take some money off that last effort. With that horse's run style. But Stark Contrast drew post 11 last time. Was a little bit wide throughout there, but came with a really nice kick. Just was second best that day. But that was first up since January. This is second up. I'm really, really happy to see that Michael McCarthy opted for here instead of going into the Derby. This horse is clearly better on the grass. Came back and smoked that field in the Eddie Logan exactly like she should have. She finished a really good set. He finished a really good second. To Stad in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf last fall. I think the race sets up for, you get Flavian Pratt, you get a nice inside draw. I'm all in on this horse. This is certainly going to be the horse that I press up with win bets, single in all the horizontals. I most importantly, I think all the other horses in this field have to step up to beat him. And I think if he runs back to that last race, I still think he wins.
Yeah, he's way the horse to beat. I'm not going to argue with that at all. I'm going to come back and press him up. I know I'm 4 deep in here, but definitely going to come back and press him up because I agree with you. I think he's way the horse to beat.
All right, you have the 6 and the 7 in here. The 6 Black Hornet, a horse that we're a little familiar with, as you picked this horse before.
I did. I liked him in the Jeff Ruby. And, for a while there, I was getting kind of excited because he was kind of making this big move on the turn while wide. And then he kind of ended up flattening out a little bit. And I'm just hoping he didn't take to the synthetic as well as I would have hoped. And not that he's just not quite this good. Because I thought his turf races down at Fairgrounds were really good. I mean, on the maiden breaker, he closed into a really slow pace and got the job done that day. Then he came back in the stake race and ran down Touch of Fire, who was, I think, 4-5, had a really easy lead. And he ran that horse down and won pretty easily. And Touch of Fire came right back and won an allowance race at Keeneland. So that's a decent horse he beat that day. I'm hoping that getting back to the grass is going to do him some good. I think he'll work out the right kind of trip from here from off the pace. He's 20-1, so I definitely want to be using him. Albion's another one where I feel like this has kind of been the target all along, ever since they won that race down at Tampa. And he's another horse that probably should get the right kind of trip in here from mid-pack. I would guess. And again, I think they just deliberately skipped Keeneland to target this race. And he's run some fast numbers. He does have to get a little bit faster to beat the likes of Stark Contrast, but I don't think that's impossible. He's still an improving 3-year-old, so I want to use him as well. And then to the far outside, I'm gonna use Thousand Sticks just because I'm kind of a fan of this horse, and he got really good this winter down at Gulfstream Park and was running some fast races. Now the last race obviously didn't quite work out. He was kind of at a wide trip, but I didn't really think he had a huge excuse that day. It wasn't like the pace was super fast or anything, so he does have to get back to one of his better races. Does have to overcome the 13 post, obviously, and some other speed in here. But we're talking about a horse that's 15-1, and I do think he's pretty talented. And his 2 races, 2 and 3 back, those speed figures are not that far off the likes of Mamba and Stark Contrast. So he's another one I'm going to throw in. So I'm going to use 4 horses in here, but again, I am going to come back and press up Stark Contrast.
Yeah, I don't necessarily hate any of that. You and I are both playing against, remember, Mamba, who did come back out to win the Grade 3 Transylvania after, smoking 2 fields to start the career. To me, though, that margin of victory got a lot smaller. And while that was a very impressive performance by him, this is another step up, and he's got to prove it once again. And 9-2 is far too short for me to take this off of just 3 races and not a whole lot to the body of work to trust. You mentioned Thousand Sticks. I think if you like this horse, this is the time you're going to get the best price on him. So I'm not going to talk you off of that. I do think Final Score is probably going to be a thorn in the side early, as they both kind of want to be forward. This is the 3-year-old debut for that one. Honey Dutch is another one that's going to be forward in here. Greenwich Village, I'm interested to see where this horse is early, because he's done very well while having a target. But I do think he's one that's just kind of naturally quicker with that West Coast speed, as we like to say. Alpeland, that's the main rival to me to the number 4 Stark Contrast, because Alpeland, you mentioned, skipped Keeneland, pointed to this spot, and this is one that does get better. That win in the Columbia at Tampa Bay Downs was wildly impressive to beat a field by 2 lengths and basically have that lead the entire length of the stretch and just had that thing basically under wraps. The question to me was what was really in behind that horse. And then again, to me, Stark Contrast just has faced all of that class and had those class tests and kind of beat them every step of the way. So I don't hate any of your picks. Certainly, I'm not going to talk you off of Black Hornet or anything like that. I do think the pace scenario, though, is going to be an interesting one in this spot. So we'll wrap up leg 3 of the 50-cent turf pick 4. I'm going to single the 4 Stark Contrast. Jackson's going 4, 6, 7, 13, and we'll be pressing up Stark Contrast as well. Now for the finale, it is the the Turf Classic, the Grade 1, of course. And once again, we're going a little bit different. I'm going 1, 6, 9, 10, and Jackson, you are singling the 9. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because we're a little different. We have, we're using each other's singles, but we're also it'll be fun. Go ahead.
No, you're right. It's the complete opposite of last race. Yeah,
it is. Okay, so I'll start the conversation down on the rail with Corruption. This horse, I think, is better going the 1.5 miles, going those marathon distances. This race going 1 1/8 miles. He went fast enough last time where I don't think the cutback is going to be a huge issue. And I do think he's had some back races, some races at the 1.8 miles. He's had some races in the past going 1 mile where he's had that target and he's closed nicely. Other than that, it really has been the 1.5 miles, but I do think he can kind of fit here. I do think cutting back for Mark Casse, he got a little late last time, but also just got beat by a better horse in Farbridge, who's definitely a marathon specialist. I thought Corruption was interesting from the inside. I wouldn't hate if Johnny V just sent to the lead kind of at all costs and just relied on that foundation and stamina from the 10, 12 furlong races. I also, if somebody for whatever reason sent like a Banshee out of there and tried to go way too fast, I do think Corruption's capable of passing horses and sitting the pocket with Johnny V going 9 furlongs, having that foundation underneath him. I wouldn't hate that either, but obviously I think priority 1 or place I would like to see him would be out towards the front end. This is one that, again, it took me a while to look at this race to kind of come back to this horse, but I do think on his best day, he's just as good as any of these.
He's got to go, right? I mean, who else in this race is going to go besides maybe Rhetorical, who should have gone last time and then didn't? I mean, if he didn't go last time, why is he going to go today? There's no other speed in this race. I guess Mercante could be up close, but he seems to have tailed off a little bit. If you got the rail draw with this horse, who's at his best on the lead against probably a little bit better animals, you got to go to the front and see what happens.
Yeah, that is, of course, where I'd like to see him. But if somebody gets wildly aggressive, I wouldn't want him, obviously, dueling with them or anything like that. A horse that I thought might be more. Go ahead.
You don't like either Chads either, then?
I don't.
Okay.
Program trading, I've seen more than enough of this horse. We know, everybody knows Chad Brown. If his horses don't have the winning kind of tendency, there's a certain point you got to just kind of divorce them, because it's not like if a trainer like him is not going to change, get them to get into the winner's circle with plenty of trips where they should win. You can't, you can lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink, whatever analogy you want to use there. I've seen enough of program trading. Flavien Prat hops off of program trading. That's enough for me. He's going to hop to the inside in Asbury Park. This is a little bit of an interesting horse. I think if this horse gets forgotten about, an 8-1 is very close to me wanting to take a stab. The issue is I don't think the pace is going to set up for him. And I think that's kind of the issue. And I could see this horse taking a lot of money. So that's why I'm against Asbury Park. And then program trading, I'm good. Chad Brown throwing blinkers on, that feels like a kind of a last chance at desperation sort of a move. Why are you against the Chads in here?
I'm just done with program trading. I've seen enough. He cost me $8,000 when he won by a nose in Turf Classic 2 years ago. He cost me $10,000 this year when he didn't win at Gulfstream, when I had the double with him to Skippy Longstocking. Yeah. He was horrible last time at Fairgrounds. He didn't run a step. Yeah. And the fact that Pratt jumps off of this horse to ride a horse that probably would be 25-1 with any other trainer and jockey combo just kind of tells me everything I need to know about him. So
I agree.
I agree. I think Asbury Park would be interesting if he was 20-1, but he's going to be not even half of that with those two.
Or if there was more pace. Rhetorical is in here, coming back off of a Maker's Mark mile that is a race to forget for just about everybody except for the connections of Zulu Kingdom when Flavien Prat took it to him on the front end. I'm willing to excuse that effort. This is one that likes to be forward. This is his first time over the Churchill Downs course. I'll press this one up maybe a little bit. I don't have a super strong opinion, but I've always loved this horse. This is just such a cool animal to see run, because he does always fire a really good effort. Last time in the Makers, yes, he got third, and it wasn't super exciting. You never really got to cheer for him at any point in time. But there were a few in there that didn't have the best trips, and Rhetorical's bad trip started before the gates even opened. He was uncomfortable in there. He was, thrashing around, and that was something that you don't typically or didn't typically see from him in any of his previous starts. So maybe it was the layoff. Maybe he was just feeling a little too revved up, and he expended a little too much energy there early. So he's one I'm more than willing to kind of forgive that, and I'll go right back to him here as I want to spread 4 deep in this Turf Classic, because I do think it is a very, very competitive race. Now, Jackson, we'll go to you. Astronomer's in here too. Just got to give him a shout out just in case.
And Gold Phoenix. I love Gold Phoenix. He's one of my favorite horses in training. He ran really well in this race last year. He was riding a really bad rail the entire way around and got fourth. I don't think there's enough pace for him, and I don't think he's quite this good anymore, but I love this horse.
Yeah. The horse is very cool, and I'll tell you this, Jackson, real quick before we move on. We shouldn't spend too much time on this horse. He's working like he was going into the San Marcos, where he ran a dud. He's never been this flashy morning horse, and now he's firing these 58, 59s. Maybe he's really feeling himself, but right before the San Luis Rey, he was back to those slow morning works. I don't know how much you want to read into that. Maybe it was the distance that did him in at the 1.25 miles, but I do think he's fine at that distance. I don't know. I was just honestly a little uneasy by how quick the works were. That may sound silly, but Jackson, we'll go to you. Test score, winner of the Pegasus World Cup Turf Invitational, buddy Will Humphreys obviously knows the horse well, says he's training just like he does every morning, and that's with not a whole lot of energy. But that's a good thing. That's how this horse is. He's not one of those. He's not a huge morning workhorse.
Yeah, that's not unusual for him, and that's we kind of want to see. It's very similar, like some of these Derby horses. Most of them are going to look really great, but the likes of, I believe, like a horse like So Happy has always been a horrible morning workhorse, and he's working terrible coming in this race too. It's like, okay, well, that's just who he is. It's not out the ordinary. You can't put too much stock into those workouts. So, but yeah, I like Test Score in here. I'm going to single him, especially in this sequence that looks pretty tough. And I would imagine a lot of people are going to lean on Rhetorical a little bit. So if I can get Test Score alive to Test Score in here, I'd be probably feeling pretty good. I don't know about you, Ryan, but I was surprised when he won the Pegasus. I didn't think
Oh,
he
yeah.
would run as well as he did in there. He's just such a grindy horse. He's not a horse that is supposed to be good at Gulfstream Park. And you can look at his race last year at Gulfstream in 2025, where he ran fine. It was not his usual good self that day. And that's kind of the reason I didn't like him, the Pegasus. But the fact that he won at Gulfstream with his style of running just tells me everything you need to know, that he may have turned the corner coming into this 4-year-old season. He's been freshened since that race. And I think if you look at how he's supposed to run at Gulfstream versus how he's supposed to run at Churchill, he's a horse that is supposed to love Churchill Downs with his grindy running style, with the long home stretch, with the long run into the first turn, with this 9 furlong distance. This is supposed to be his best racetrack. He ran huge here last year when he was second in the American Turf. He spent 90% of that race on the rail, and the rail that day was not the place to be on the Churchill Downs turf course. I thought he ran huge in that spot. And if he's able to run as well as he did in the Pegasus, or even move forward off of that, he's going to be tough.
He should be very tough in here. I don't hate him. Obviously, I included him in my ticket. I'm not as confident as you, because that last effort, I don't know whether that was really him turning a corner as a new 4-year-old, because it's not like he had a whole lot of time off between the Hollywood Derby and the Pegasus World Cup. That was a very impressive effort. I'm with you. He was not supposed to win that sort of race on the Gulfstream Park turf course. It's not a turf course meant for him. I agree completely that Churchill is the course that's meant for him. I have to use him because he's absolutely a viable win candidate in here. I don't entirely trust him because I do think that one number stands out, obviously a little bit. That was the first race of his 4-year-old career. That was a huge race in the Pegasus World Cup turf. I think biggest on his page so far. So I certainly don't dislike him in here, but I don't have the confidence you do to single him to end this sequence. I thought it was a wide open affair, but obviously Will has told us.
I think the other thing that was so impressive about it was that he showed speed that he's never shown before, because he's always been a horse that's going to be like mid-pack-ish when these paces get really hot, but he was up close to a fast pace down a Gulfstream, which was something he'd never done before. And he survived it, and you can argue he got even better with it. So maybe if he shows that dimension too, given today's projected pace scenario, I mean, that's just another feather in his cap.
Absolutely. Last one we'll talk about is the number 10, Make Me King. I do not know how to pronounce the trainer's name, but Jose Ortiz is going to take the Mount Wathman Racing. They're obviously silks that we see here all the time. Look, this one last ran in the Dubai turf, the grade 1 over there during the racing festival, lost to Ombudsman and Kudwa. Those are, forget it. They're in a league of their own, especially Ombudsman. And look, that was a respectable 4th in there. Drew post 11 that day, was a little bit wide going over there, but was, within sight of the leaders as they were turning for home, and just didn't quite get the job done. I wonder if this is a horse that, I know there's not a whole lot of rain projected at Churchill this week. I wonder if this is one that might thrive a little more over that firm ground. I preferably would have liked to see him drawn a little more inside, but we've talked about the configuration of this 9 furlong event at Churchill, and you have plenty of room before that first turn. You have a nice long stretch. I do think that if Jose works out a good trip, this is kind of a dark horse that, I think the board is probably going to tell the story 6-1. That to me shows a lot of respect on the morning line by Nick Tamaro for this runner. And obviously the 4th in Dubai World Cup makes a lot of sense as to why. This is definitely a stakes quality horse, as he's won a couple stakes and competed in nothing but stakes on the form page. So this is one I definitely want to take a little bit of a stab at. This was, to me, the most difficult race in the sequence that we covered. I think there's, whether it's My Boy Prince, whether it's Yellow Card, you can kind of narrow down in that turf sprint. You have stark contrast to I would use the L word and say I love that horse. I'd say the second leg that we covered, which
would you use the other L word?
What's that one?
Lock?
No, can't. We can't use that word anymore. It's been cursed. Okay. Every time we say a horse can't lose, the horse loses.
I didn't say can't lose. I said lock. There's a difference.
Well, that's true. Okay. No, there's nothing. Okay. There's no such thing as a lock on Derby Day. There's too many good horses and too many trainers peaking for that one. So,
what about with Velocity? Is he a lock?
No.
Okay. Just asking.
I love that horse. Love that horse, but I don't think he's a lock. So Anyway, I think there are places that you can narrow down in here. To me, this race was not one of them. But Jackson, I do think if you single test score to end your pick 4, I do think that'll create a little bit more separation than maybe what the morning line shows, because I do think it's a spread race for many, many people. So wrapping up leg number 4, I'm going 1, 6, 9, 10. Jackson will be singling the 9. Jackson, there's our Derby show. We did it. I mean, I know we're not necessarily covering the Oaks and the Derby here, but real quick before we get out of here, we got to let the people know, I guess, our thoughts on the 2 biggest races of the weekend. We won't show the past performances or go into it because we'll start rambling on for about 30 minutes. But your quick thoughts on the Oaks, your quick thoughts on the Derby.
The Oaks, I have absolutely no idea. Gun to head, I guess I'd say Explorer right now, but it's kind of a race where I don't really know if I want to be playing too many horizontals because I would just be using so many horses. And it's probably one where I just make a win bet on whoever I thought was way too high of a price. And someone is going to be way too high of a price because just there's only so much money to go around. So
yeah,
whether that's Explorer, whether that's Prom Queen, whether it's Always a Runner, like it kind of remains to be seen. I know that helps absolutely everyone. I just gave you like 10 horses to list in a 14-horse field, but that's kind of how I feel about that race.
Yeah, the Oaks is extremely tough this year. It's very wide open. I think Explorer on her best day certainly has her contention runs very deep. You got to wonder, she missed the fantasy with a bit of a cold. They opted to train her up for this spot. You can have some reservations, but if the price is there, then you got to take it. Obviously drew the rail as well for the Oaks. For me, as much as I don't like the inconsistency that she showed in the Martha Washington, maybe she's turned the corner. Maybe she's grown up. I got to take Counting Stars. I think 8-1 is more than enough value for me. And as long as the horse holds at that, I'm probably just, if I play some horizontals into the Oaks, I might just single Counting Stars. It'll be light. I'm not going to play super heavy on Oaks Day. It's a wide open race, but 8-1 feels to me like the best value in there. I thought Always a Runner was a bit interesting. The more I look at that horse, I mean, she's very lightly raced, but if she can take another step forward, I think she contends deep. And I do like that she's not, a need to lead a speedball type where she's going to make that one run. And I do think that helps in the, kind of like the maturation process of a horse. Like
Sure.
It's a lot easier to have that one run type of horse than having the speedball type in their third career start doing something like this, going into the deep end. So I'd be heavier on the Counting Stars, certainly at 8-1. I think the value is there. Let's move on to the Derby. Oh, go ahead.
No, I just wonder if, going back to Explorer, I wonder if her missing that race was a bit of a blessing in disguise. It would have been her 4th race in, I believe, 10 weeks, and then it would have been another quick turnaround to the Oaks. So, and she didn't really have a break between the Breeders' Cup and her 3-year-old campaign either. So maybe it could be one of those things where the extra time could give her a little bit of a chance to mature a little bit and take a step forward, because she still trained very well. She didn't really miss any time in the mornings. It was kind of like a 1-week thing, it seemed like. And she drew really well. I think a lot of people are going to be scared off by the rail, but with her running style and with it being 9 furlongs and not 10 and not a 20-horse field, I think it's a perfect post.
I'm with you. I don't think the post hurts at all. I think if anything, Pratt's on board, lead, and then that's it. Like, I think if we might see that
pocket is fine too. I mean, yeah,
that's true. That's true. All right, Derby thoughts before we get up out of here. Equally as competitive of a Derby, whether you believe it's kind of top heavy or not. I think there's many win candidates in here.
Yeah, it seems like it's a pretty top heavy race this year. I don't really have a huge argument against any of the 3 favorites. I mean, I guess Renegade probably shouldn't be favored, but I'm not really against him. I think the value is probably so happy. And we talked about this a little bit. I just feel like a lot of people kind of made up their minds about the form of California before the race, before the Santa Ana Derby went off. And then, the field was no good. And the number comes back in the clock, and it's like, oh, well, he ran just as fast as Commandment, and he ran just as fast, or he ran faster than Renegade. He ran just as fast as the Pumas, Chief Wallaby, all these horses that are going to be much lower prices. He's run just as fast as all of them. And he's probably going to get the jump on all but Further Ado, I would guess. So if he's really going to be 51, I think that's significant value, I would say.
I would agree. I do think So Happy certainly looks like the value of those horses, certainly of the ones that have hit the triple digits in terms of buyer speed figures. Certainly one you have to love in there. Distance is a question for a number of these. You see, obviously, a lot of Into Mischiefs on the breeding. You see a couple Constitutions, and then there's just a bunch that are so unproven. Whether it's Run Happy, whether it's Essential Quality, you have the Japanese horses, you have Incredibolt and Bolt Doro. So it'll be interesting to see who answers that. For me, I think I'm going with the Puma. I mean, it's a wide open race. I could go many, many deep in here. Obviously, I have love for Pavlovian. He's going to be forward early. But I think realistically, the win candidate that I want is probably going to be the Puma at the 10-1 morning line. I think that's fair enough for me. I do like Commandment a little bit in this spot. I want to see how much money he's going to take. It's such a wide open race that those 2 races he's coming out of were very tough races. I mean, he had to really try in the Fountain of Youth, and he had to try even harder in the Florida Derby. And he's coming in off the back of those 2. That being said, he's a very good horse. I mean, I have nothing against him, but now you have an even tougher test in here, although he should be positioned pretty well. The horse that I gotta play the Dollar Super. I'm not playing the Octafecta, won't touch that, but when I play the Dollar Super,
I don't believe you. I swear
I'm
you
not.
keep saying this. I do not believe you. You're going to play it.
I swear to you, I'm not.
You're going to be the only person in the entire country playing it. You're going to be playing it yourself.
I know that won't be the case. If they're going to guarantee the jackpot at 10 mil, guarantee there's going to be more than a couple participants. But yeah, I mean, I'm not touching that wager. Anyway, Superfecta, the Dollar Super, I will be playing. I love that bet on Derby Day. I think it's impossibly tough. But I'm going to keep Right to Party in 3rd and 4th and just hope that horse just continues to kind of chug and finish things off as he goes through the race. So I got to use that horse. He's still figuring things out. He's a deserved long shot. I don't think he can win. But I do think he can clunk up for a piece, 3rd or 4th. I think he can outfinish some of those others.
Here's what's going to happen. We're going to be at Louisville. We're going to be at the Derby. First time there. You're going to have a couple mint juleps because it's the Derby. They're free, technically. And then you're going to sneak away and try to bet. And you're going to bet the Octafecta and try to not to let anybody see. And you're going to be really secret.
Until I hit it, and everybody's going to know.
Until you hit it. And like, what did you hit? And you're like, you're not going to tell us. Yeah.
No. I'm like, I hit the Fecta. Oh, the Super Fecta? Yeah, times 2?
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Oh,
Anyway.
that'd be insane. Please take. Yeah, no. Well, I don't think I'm going to play the Octafecta. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. We went over the Turf Pick 4, some Oaks and Derby thoughts. Best of luck to you. Jackson, you and I will be live again tonight on HHH as we go over how to bet the Derby. I don't know if you're going to join us for that show. I would hope that you're. Nope, you won't be there. So
I have 2 more shifts of work before I leave for the Derby, so it's going to be rough.
There we go. At least you're not having a coughing fit, and you seem to not be sick anymore. So hey, that's a plus.
Wow.
All right. Well, knock on wood for that, and stop talking about the weather for Churchill. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next time. For Jackson Muniz, I'm Ryan Anderson. This has been the Gallop Out. Good luck on the Derby. We'll see you next time.